I first heard of St. Louis Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner last summer because of the McCloskey case. She's the lady who decided that these people are the biggest threat in the country's fourth most dangerous and crime-ravaged city. Third, if you don't count San Juan in Puerto Rico. Forget Chicago, forget Baltimore, St. Louis puts them to shame. Or actually, puts itself to shame with crime rates that continue to rise. But yeah, it's a guy doing a bad Clint Eastwood impression on his porch who's the real threat to the community. And for Kim Gardner, making an example of the pink polo man and his wife wasn't just a prosecutorial priority, it was a political priority too. And ironically, it was her political bloodthirst for them that got her booted off their case because she had fundraised for her campaign by maligning the McCloskeys. They were brandishing guns at peaceful Black Lives Matter protesters, her email said. How dare they? Now please give Kim Gardner some money to win the election and see them put in prison. And of course the case has since been settled, but I keep following Kim Gardner because of the legendary hate mail that she posts on Facebook.
Kim Gardner posted these letters on social media. The writer uses racial slurs and says they hope Gardner catches COVID-19. Her spokesperson says these came in the mail. Gardner declined to say anything more, but in one of her posts, she wrote, in part, "This is real and no joke. Don't feel sorry. Get out and vote."
Now, at first, I thought these were probably fake, just another scheme for votes leading up to her election. But then I looked into it, and it turns out a lot of these are real, or at least they look real. She often includes the real names and addresses of the people who sent these messages, and some of them are pretty high effort. One guy superimposed her face on pig droppings. I'm not sure Kim would put herself or her staff through this much work just for the bit. And as we'll get to, I'm not even sure they have the technical skill to pull this off anyway. And another guy took it to the next level. He apparently just wiped his butt and sent it to her. Now, honestly, I don't know if the hate mail is real or not, but I do know if there was a prosecutor actually awful enough to inspire a guy to wipe his own ass and drop it in the mail, and actually awful enough for a postman to endure carrying it in a hot delivery car, it would be Kim Gardner. I don't endorse it, but for Kim Gardner, the shitposts are literal. Kim wants you to believe she's a constant victim of racial targeting, but even if that is happening, there's a more important truth she's constantly struggling to explain. She's just plain bad at her job of bringing criminals to justice. And in a disproportionately black city with disproportionately black victims of crime, it's fair to question, even if Kim Gardner's hate mail is real, who is actually harming the black community more significantly? People scribbling grammatically challenged mean words on a piece of paper, or the woman who is failing at her job of securing justice for black victims and locking up the people who victimize them? And of course, her job is to do that for everybody, regardless of race. I only specify because Kim Gardner presents herself as a hero for her black constituency. She's on Black Lives Matter's team, explicitly. She said the McCloskeys need to go to prison because of what they could have done to those BLM protesters. They could have shot them. They could have killed them. And Kim Gardner will protect you from what they could do to you. Just don't look to her if someone does actually shoot you, or if someone does actually kill you, because in that case, Kim Gardner's office has way more important things to worry about. Headline July 18th, St. Louis Dispatch, no-show St. Louis prosecutors trigger dismissal of 2020 murder case. Brandon Campbell is accused of fatally shooting Randy Moore last April, and he's been in custody since his arrest last year by U.S. Marshals after he fled to Arizona and Texas on charges of first-degree murder, armed criminal action, and unlawful gun possession. The prosecutor from Kim Gardner's office failed to show up for court hearings in May, and again in June, and again in July. Campbell's public defender emailed Gardner's office about discovery of the evidence against Campbell, as is his right to do, but there was no response. And then a court order was issued to Gardner's office to produce the evidence against Campbell, and again, there was no response. And without timely action from the prosecution, and after months of patience, the defense moved to dismiss the case for willful violations of the rules of discovery. And frustrated, but citing the accused murderer's right to a speedy trial, the judge granted that motion to dismiss the case, and the charges were dropped. And the judge recognized that letting this guy go is a threat to public safety, but the law and the protection of rights must be adhered to. And the prosecutor is ultimately responsible for protecting public safety by charging and prosecuting those she believes committed crimes. Where the circuit attorney refuses or fails to prosecute, the court is bound by the law, and that includes the protection of the rights of the criminally accused. So an accused killer then walks out of jail as a free man, at least momentarily. He's since been rearrested by U.S. Marshals, and he's now charged again for the same crime, but he was out on his own for several days, and he easily could have committed more heinous crimes. And it's a miracle that he didn't, because I use the word accused only as a formality. This guy did it. There's surveillance footage of Campbell arguing with the man that he killed. That man walks away from the argument and Campbell shoots him several times dead. Campbell is also positively identified by a witness at the scene. So Kim Gardner can't blame the difficulties of the case for her negligence. Anybody with a law license could put this guy away with 10 minutes of work. There aren't complex legal theories or case law or holes in the evidence to navigate. The guy's on video committing a murder with a gun. He shot a guy who was walking away from him. And Kim has her excuses, which we'll get to, but it wasn't just her treatment of the legal process that was negligent. Again, to our question, who's doing the actual victimizing? Because Kim's treatment of the victim's family was negligent too. The family of Randy Moore, who have been waiting for justice in this case for over a year now, were not even informed by Kim Gardner's office that Randy's accused killer had walked free. They only found out when a news crew showed up to interview them about it.
The Crime Victims' Rights statute requires prosecutors to keep families informed. Moore's family says Gardner's office kept them in the dark. Has anyone been in touch with you to tell you at all?
At all, no. No one. I only found out that he's out today by you guys. Why they're not doing their job? Well, it was so hard to pick up the phone call to let us know what was going on.
Circuit Attorney Gardner declined our request for an interview in a statement saying corrective measures are needed to further prevent any future repeat occurrence of the incident in question.
That statement makes it sound like it was all just some big misunderstanding or just some confusion. Even if it was, we're not talking about a Snickers bar theft at the gas station, Kim. We're talking about a murder. It's a pretty important one to remember. Should be a pretty high priority. But given the facts, negligence can't possibly explain what happened here. It's far more active than that. See, it turns out the prosecutor who Gardner's office assigned to this murder case was a pregnant woman, and she began her maternity leave right before these no-shows in court started happening. She took leave starting May 10th. At the next court date, May 17th, nobody from Gardner's office showed up, nor did they going forward. Gardner's office blamed the no-show on internal policies regarding medical leave. Corrective measures are needed to prevent any repeat occurrences, Kim Gardner says. Well, again, it's weird that such an important case would get botched so badly, with apparently everybody just forgetting that the woman supposedly handling the case isn't actually even there. And it's weirder still to keep assigning more important cases to this woman on maternity leave, nearly 30 of them felony cases, including more than a dozen more murders, and a death penalty case, and several assaults and robberies, all of which we can assume got about the same amount of work and attention as this murder case did. Something close to none. That prosecutor on maternity leave has now resigned after the murder case was dismissed. She's not speaking to media, but one can infer her reasons. The incompetence at the office assigning her crucially important cases while she's not even there, dragging her into controversy while she's supposed to be enjoying her newborn child. Take your pick, but there is another reason that's not just incompetence. It's active corruption. It's not just the case that a woman on maternity leave kept having cases and work assigned to her on accident. In at least 20 of those cases, someone at Gardner's office fraudulently signed this absent prosecutor's name on court documents and named her as lead prosecutor, though she obviously was not. Local NBC confirms through a source familiar with the cases that this prosecutor was not in the office at the time and did not sign these documents herself. That's not a whoopsie. That's intentional. That's not Gardner's office accidentally assigning the wrong prosecutor to these cases. That's Gardner's office knowingly creating the illusion that this prosecutor is working on them when she isn't. So why? It's speculated that it's simply a tactic to buy some time and postpone the trials in these cases. And in fairness to Gardner, we all know it's a rough economy out there. It's tough to get workers. And it's tougher still to attract any attorney or legal professional to an office lacking so much integrity and seeping so much corruption. Since Gardner was elected in 2017, more than 90 prosecutors have left the office, and many of them were career prosecutors with years of experience putting murderers away. Even if you can replace them, the skill and experience gap between them and new lawyers will still cost you a lot of time. So you gotta do what you gotta do. Or in Kim Gardner's case, you don't do what you gotta do, which is lock up the killers. Sure, she forges signatures, but she totally didn't forge all that hate mail. You can be sure that those letters are legit. And if they aren't legit, they're about to get legit. Because if anybody deserves a little bit of leeway in the vulgarity of their correspondence, it's the family of the victim of an unprosecuted murder. And the rest of the community who has to scramble to find the murderer on the loose and have him arrested again for a second time because the woman in charge of securing him just let him walk right out the door. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel. Always appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below, and especially over on Gab, that is at ML Christiansen. You're always welcome to coming out and chat in my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it. Goodbye.